Look, I can't help but think that now might be a good time for a little fire and ice. Please.
Oh, do not know. It's never a good time for fire and ice.
What happens when you mix fire and ice?
Warm water, baby.
It's bubbling, baby. Warm water. Warm water.
It's time for a little fire and ice coming at you from over here at Union Drafthouse, 730 Sunland Park Drive on the west side of El Paso. Brandon, they've got their 100 beers on tap. They've got a deal that they're doing with the Alzheimer's Association as well, doing a fundraiser not just through October, but all the way through November as well. They got college football happening right now. I'm sure they're going to have all the fights. They've got Dallas Cowboys games on Sundays. And Brandon, I've said it a million times, this is the most wonderful time of the year.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, man. There's a little bit of everything, isn't there?
We've got the NBA kicking off. You know how much I love my NBA. We've got the World Series underway right now with Major League Baseball. A little bit later on in today's show, Darren Hunt is going to be joining us to talk about the Texas Rangers. Huge Texas Rangers fan. You don't really see that very often as well. NHL is underway. College football is right in mid-stride. The NFL, we're getting to see who the good teams are and the bad teams. And it's just there's a plethora of sports. If you can't find something to talk about in the sports world right now, you are actively ignoring sports.
Absolutely. I mean, it really is, to quote your wonderful Christmas song, is it's the season for sports in general. It really is the time where everything in general, kind of the stars align, everything collides, and it's just wonderful. I mean, the weather's changing. It's getting a little chilly outside, and it's to me, this is just, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven, right? You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm down with it. Hey,
I love it, man.
So to me, Brandon, like I've always loved this time of year. Like, this is Christmas to me, right? Whatever you want to like, your favorite time. This is it for me, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone knows I love basketball. We're about to get into college basketball season right now as well, with all the other sports still happening. Like, it's just injected into my veins. I hope I don't have an overdose from sports, which is possible. I'm pretty sure. Old fat guys. And of course, I mean, look at me, man. I'm not the best of shape.
You're not heavy. You know, you're just big bone. That's all.
I'm just thicker than a Snicker.
Yeah.
That's the way that they say it.
You could say that again.
Before we get started, though, Brandon, I want to give a big thank you to our friends over at UTEP Athletics. They were able to hook us up with a media pass to go down on the field during the Battle of I-10. So that was really cool to be a part of. I also want to give a shout out to the WWE. We didn't have a show last week because on Thursday, the WWE was like, hey, how about you come on out over here? And I did. So I went out there for a Friday Night SmackDown, which is really cool.
Where were you at? What arena were you at?
In San Antonio at the Frost Bank Center.
Oh, wow.
New name for that place, but an absolutely amazing venue that they have out there. The people were amazing. So I want to give a shout out to all of them. It was awesome to be a part of those events in 1 week.
Wow.
So Battle of I-10 all the way down to San Antonio for a SmackDown in the span of 2 days.
What did you do? What was your purpose? I had to ask you.
I was there taking pictures, writing articles, doing a bunch of other stuff like that, trying to just kind of see how awesome it is to be in the environment with the WWE. Like, it's been a long time since I've been to one of those major events. And where they sat me at, Brandon, was so cool because it was right next to the hard camera, right?
Oh, wow.
For those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically the main camera that sees everything.
Okay.
And I thought they normally would have that a little higher up. They had that like right in the middle of the stands, man. So I was 11 rows away from the ring. That's basically where I sat the whole
You
night.
were there. You were right there, man. You got a great view of everything.
I mean, you heard everything. You got to see everything. Like,
Sure.
I feel like I broke a couple of ribs being kicked by someone else that was down over there, right? But I think the coolest part about it wasn't like, being there for that stuff. It was just kind of like seeing the atmosphere.
Sure.
The way that the wrestling kind of brings those communities together, right? Especially the WWE, the way that they do the stuff with like Make-A-Wish and everything like that. And seeing the families that were out there for all that stuff was really cool to see. John Cena was apparently all over San Antonio, all the various hospitals, meeting people, doing all that stuff. That dude, I don't know if you know this or not, Brandon, has done over 700 Make-A-Wish.
Wow.
Like, dreams come true.
Oh, that's amazing.
And like, it's so just cool to see that. So that to me, like, that reminded me of like, okay, yeah, that's why people love wrestling.
Absolutely.
Is because of that type of stuff, the way that they're involved in the community. But I wanted to talk a little bit, Brandon, about what we are representing right now. The greatest Wednesday night football team in the history of Wednesday night football for Conference USA. 2-1 during their 3-week span on Wednesday night football.
Yes.
Our UTEP Miners kicking some ass and taking names.
Yes.
Beating a 0-7 Sam Houston State University, which I don't know if I didn't realize they were in Conference USA, but hey, whatever. Sam Houston State University, 37-34. UTEP squeaking out the win. Daver asked me, he had the audacity to ask me what I thought that UTEP was going to do in their next game against Western Kentucky.
Well, that is chutzpah. If you want to ask me, all I know is the game on a Wednesday, but I don't think so. No, I mean, they seem to really be adjusting to this Wednesday schedule rather well, taking 2 of 3. Very impressive. Look, I mean, you beat an 0-7 team, a team that this is their first year in D1. You beat a team that you were supposed to beat. People will argue every day of the week that they had to come back to win the game, but the bottom line is a W is a W, and it gets you closer to, who knows, maybe doubtful, but maybe becoming bowl eligible. You never know.
We are right on the edges of becoming bowl eligible. Like, it's right there. It's tangible. We can feel it almost.
Now, how bad does that first week loss hurt, huh?
I mean, that's the bad one, right?
Yeah, well, that's the worst one. It's the one you shouldn't have had.
And that's one that I was going to say. So yeah, they defeated one school that was brand new to Division I, but they lost to the other one first week of the season in Jacksonville State University.
Yeah, those losses come back to haunt you always.
So we are now they have to win out in order to become bowl eligible.
Right, 6-6, right?
I am still holding on hope that me, you, and Dana DeMille are going to be able to wear our UTEP Speedos.
Yeah.
Maybe we get Dave in one as well. What do you say, Dave?
Sounds attractive.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
He'll be the best looking one out there.
Yeah, he will.
I know that much.
He's a stud. You get an Eagles one, Fly, Eagles, fly.
There you go.
My buddy, I love this guy.
That's where the eagle lands.
Please stop. It's too early in the morning.
It's noon. It's not morning anymore.
Well, for me, it's in the morning still,
but UTEP, right? So we're talking about them. We're seeing the way that they've been in a couple of games, right? Going over to Miami, beating FIU in Florida, only the second time they've won on the East Coast, the first time they won in the state of Florida. So we're starting to see some progress with them, right? Then they come back home and just drop an egg to New Mexico State.
Right.
Now, granted, New Mexico State isn't the bad, horrible New Mexico State that we're used to seeing from the past.
Yep.
This is actually a halfway decent team that's won a couple of bowl games and been to a few bowl games in the last half decade. So it's not like what we're used to seeing whenever they used to play against each other in the WAC back in the day. I'm kind of disappointed in that loss because it wasn't even a close game.
It was a shitty game.
You go 7-7 at the half, and then wind up losing 28-7.
You're blown out. You just completely pull a UTEP in the second half and have dismal play calling and don't execute anything. And bottom line is, though, NMSU is the much better team. I'm going to say it right now. Number one, number two, their quarterback is that far superior. I mean, he's a damn good prodigy, that kid, and he can get it done through the air, on the ground, and he ate him up. He ate him up. They had no answer for him and his mobility. So that's how you lose 28-7.
Daver had mentioned, I believe, that they were equating him to Johnny Manziel.
I don't know about that.
Now, I don't know if it was necessarily because of the way he carved up UTEP,
sure,
or if it's because he's really that damn good. But hey, if you get any type of comparisons to Johnny Manziel in college football, you're doing well. Now, I would say if you're doing it in the NFL, no one wants that comparison to Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's a Johnny football, obviously, in college and NFL, night and day. But I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. But I was very impressed with his performance. I thought that he was the type of quarterback that can easily manage a game, have you win games, and maybe even win another bowl game this year. And I think they are definitely going to be bowl eligible. I figure they maybe lose another game all year. They're pretty decent, not bad.
And the only criticism the quarterback got from his own side was when he threw to a receiver and UTEP successfully tackled him to the point of an injury, and his coach ran over to him and was screaming at him, and he said, "Why can't you do what you're told?" Wait a minute, I thought that was Johnny Manziel's mindset. He knew better.
Yeah, just throw the damn ball and hope something happens. Isn't that football? Isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah. Of course, what really puzzled me was his coach patted him on the back.
I mean,
most of it was for show, I guess.
Sure. Maybe he just wanted that player to be injured. He's like, "Thank you for helping us out." You never know. You never know. With the way the sports are now, everyone says everything's scripted. So that might be the way that the script was.
I mean, some endings are rather suspect. So I don't know, man. I don't want to believe it, but then again, nothing surprises me nowadays.
So I didn't want to start off with that. Do you have a college or a high school football recap? I forgot to ask you if you're going to have that.
Get you that.
So for me, I just wanted to start getting into the whole UTEP thing so I got off my own kilter here for a second. But Brandon does have our high school football recap brought to you by Brandon the Iceman Cone. Well, we got to find a way to get that sponsored.
You need, I was going to say we need some sort of a fun. How would I put it? A shtick, like a. Can we get a little music or something like that? All right, here we go. Da 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 da. We have a lot of good games that actually took place. How about Del Valle against Isleta, 27-16. Del Valle keeps rolling, and next week they will play Bel Air for the district championship. That's going to be an amazing game. Bel Air has not won a district title since 1990. That is huge. I'll be covering that game. That's our game of the week. Oh, there we go. Monahans over Mountain View, 69-13. It was Chapin taking care of El Paso High, 66-7. In a great game, Andrus over Burgess by 4, 28-24. Eastwood keeps rolling. Number one team in the city. Number one team in 6A. They beat Franklin. Franklin's been struggling. They've lost 2 in a row. 38-31. Been bitten by the injury bug. Bel Air blanking Horizon. The Scorpions 54-zip. Also, a game that I covered in a great game. Packland defeats Hanks 38-34. Let me tell you something. There was like one punt throughout the whole game. Both quarterbacks combined for like 9 touchdowns. It was just one of those games where you had to understand that there was going to be no defense throughout the whole game until the very end when Hanks was pretty much going for the win. There was a couple minutes to go. They get down to 4th and goal, and then they fake the handoff. They throw to their receiver / running back, and he drops to the knees. But then Parkland gets the ball back. Hanks has 2 timeouts. Parkland gets that first down or 2. Say la vie. That's it. They take care of business. Very impressive game. Loved it. Clint 28-7 over Fabens. It was San Eli 25-20 over Irvin. We also had Canyon-Teal 51-0 over Jeff Montwood. The Rams keep rolling 41-21 over El Dorado. Little Las Cruces area there. We had Centennial 30-23 over Las Cruces. And then, how about Austin? 14-9 over Bowie. La Bowie had won 7 straight. Austin's gotten hot here at the end after a shaky start. They're going to finish second in 1-4A. They can't win the district championship. That's going to be between Bowie and Riverside next week because Austin goofed and lost to Riverside last week. Long story short, the Panthers going to get done airing it out a lot more this year. So those are the main scores I have for you. My thoughts is next week is the final week of the regular season. There's going to be a lot of great games with not only playoff implication, district championship implication, and of course the following week the bi-district playoffs will take place here. That was a little loud, sorry. Looking forward to that. And hey man, I mean, it's best time of the year for high school football and a lot of great teams, a lot of great talent as usual. Always enjoying it here in the city.
So fantastic work there by Brandon the Iceman Cone, hooking us up with all the information that you need, or most of the information that you need when it comes to high school football here. Brandon has been on the beat since the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And now you can hear him finally on 600 ESPN El Paso as well during Football Friday night. Great job that you're doing out there as well, Brandon.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I wanted to talk to you about my Socorro Bulldogs. How come there's no mention of them?
That's a great question. I'm really glad you brought that up because they suck, first of all.
Wow.
No, wait, let me take that back. I don't see them on here. I think
they had
maybe
a bye week.
Well, that's why I was supposed to say that, right? That was the right answer to say, right? I think, but I kind of gave my real opinion. Sorry.
I
Tim.
mean, hey,
I still love you, buddy.
If the shoe fits, the shoe fits. I mean, I can't get mad about it.
My alma mater, Coronado, won on Thursday night. So
oh, well, good for you.
They're
glad.
on the outside looking in. They may make the playoffs in 1-6A, but it's going to be an uphill battle. So.
What I want for next week, if it's at all possible, is we got to find out what high school Dave went to.
Okay.
In Pennsylvania.
William Allen High School.
Okay.
William Allen High School, and we got to find out where they are
Get a score on that.
as far as high school football goes. Now, this is going to sound like a bad question. Do they play high school football at your?
They do.
And they're in
Okay,
Allentown, right?
In fact, the big rivalry is William Allen versus Deer of High.
Wow, there we go. William Allen versus Sheriff High.
You know what's cool about that part of the woods is how many games are played where there's like snowy conditions. I mean, no, it's like November, but they must get some games up there where you're playing in the snow a lot.
They've had their challenges at J. Bernie Crum Stadium.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, J. Bernie Crum
J. Bernie Crum Stadium.
J. Bernie Crum Stadium on a mid-Wednesday. The frozen tundra of Allentown, Pennsylvania.
There you go.
You freeze your nuts off out here. Enjoy.
All right, so we had mentioned a little bit earlier that we were going to be joined by Darren Hunt to talk about the World Series as his Texas Rangers have the World Series versus the Arizona
There he
Diamondbacks.
is on his way to Arlington. Hey, buddy, how about those Rangers pulling it off at 11 innings last night? You got some kid that's just a home run machine there for you guys.
Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it? I think it's how just about every game in this series is going to go. These two teams pretty evenly matched, and Arizona really took it to them running last night. They ran the bases well and did a lot of good things last night. Had me a little bit worried until Corey Seager with the big home run to tie it in the ninth, and then Adolis Garcia, guy's amazing. What a great story he is. Comes from Cuba, a lot like Randy Arozarena, his buddy. Just playoff guy. Able to do it in the postseason and come up with big hits. So last night does it once again. He kills Houston, then he comes back and he takes out Arizona in the first game here. So we're about 6 hours from game 2. I'm about an hour and a half out from Globe Life Field. So we'll be there tonight and pretty pumped up. My third trip in 3 weeks. Saw the ALDS clincher against the Orioles a couple weeks ago, and then 3 against the Astros, games 3, 4, and 5, which were tough to watch in Arlington last week. And then here we are again coming back for game 2 tonight, and have tickets to game 6 as well if we get to that point. But we'll see what happens tonight, and then we'll have a little bit better idea.
Is there a part of you that says, I do not want to go to game 6? Like, let's just get this done as soon as possible?
Being a big fan, and this is, Mike, this is my 176th game tonight that I've watched this season. And that's for real. I've watched every pitch, 176 games. And, people may call that an experiment or crazy or whatever, but, it's like pages in a book. You have to see them all. And this team's had so many ups and downs. I feel a part of it right now. I'm thrilled, and hopefully, and by next weekend we're celebrating our first World Series championship, and I want to be a part of that. And I love watching these games, and it's something to look forward to every night. And it's been quite a ride in the postseason after the disappointment of losing, the division on the last day of the season. That was tough, very difficult when you've gone through 162 games to watch that. I can admit I was a little bit emotional and upset about that, but boy, have things gone well for them in the postseason. Here they are, 10-3 in the postseason, and 3 games away from their first World Series title.
Was there ever a point yesterday, whenever you're watching this game, going into that, amazing bullpen that nobody knew about that they had down in Arizona, going up against Ginkle and going up against that whole staff that they've got there? Was there ever a point where you're like, oh man, this is done?
Yeah, I really thought that if they got to the 7th, 8th, 9th, that we'd have real trouble. But that's a new life too, because Gallen really settled down and took care of him after the first and did a good job against him, only allowing 1 more run. But it entered my mind. But then you think, well, here's another chance to kind of see what these guys are about. And they've been so good that at some point, I play the law of averages in baseball. I watch a lot. So I start thinking when my team wins, 3, 4 in a row, they're probably going to lose one because that's the law of averages. So when it comes to bullpens, those guys have been so good that chances are, eventually they're going to lose one. And last night, it got away with Seawald in the end there. And that was good to see, because I think it gives this team a lot of confidence that they can hit this bullpen and games aren't over if, they get to a point where they're a couple down going into the 7th, 8th, and 9th. I think it gives them confidence. And this is far from over. Tonight is a real test to see if you can follow it up and win again. But definitely far from over. And last night could have gone either way. What a great ball game. Yeah. I'm hoping that they're not all quite this close, because that's hard to watch. Taking some years off my life this year, this team. But man, I'm excited. And, just so excited to think I'll be in the house tonight for a World Series game.
And you know what? Honestly, and you know it as well as I do, baseball's the ultimate chess game. And I feel that Bruce Bochy has made such a significant difference this year, coming in with his World Series experience and being able to manage the bullpen, manage his pitching staff, and play small ball in certain times. And I mean, look, people don't attribute a success of a team enough to a manager, but I feel that he's completely turned this organization around.
Yeah, he's made a lot of great calls, and you know, he's obviously proven with 3 world championships. You know, I mean, you know, to get him to come out of retirement, it took a guy like Chris Young, you know, the Rangers GM, to do that. They had the pieces, and they were putting their battery together and getting, you know, some of these pitchers that they needed to get there. But you definitely got to have somebody to call those shots, and he's done that. I mean, you look at some of the, you know, things that he's done, but you also look at some of the things that the organization has done, like calling up Evan Carter right out of El Paso. By the way, the last game that Evan Carter played in the minor leagues was in El Paso. The Round Rock was in town. I saw him play on a Tuesday night against the Chihuahuas, and watched him get a hit in his first at bat. Had a little chat with him before the game. It was cool. I was telling him, hey, looking forward to seeing you in the major leagues. I had no idea that would be 2 days later. But Adolis Garcia is hurt jumping for a ball in the outfield after a day game the following day at Southwest University Park. And Evan Carter's on a plane to Arlington, and there he is. And for the last 6-7 weeks, it's been an amazing ride. But to think his last minor league game was right there in El Paso, and then this kid he's the surprise of the postseason. I mean, he's 21 years old, and he's doing it. What a dream. You know, this doesn't happen often. That's not something that happens much, is a 21-year-old. I believe they said last night that Evan Carter at 21 is the youngest player since Mickey Mantle to hit third in the lineup. And that goes back to 1952 in a World Series.
It's a great stat. It really is.
So I wanted to ask you about this, because the Texas Rangers play in Arlington, huge media market in Dallas. The Arizona Diamondbacks play in Phoenix, huge market in Phoenix as well. How on God's green earth is the only player we know about Evan Longoria at 900 years old, and then Adolis Garcia has to do all the stuff he's done for people to even know who he is?
Yeah,
how does that happen?
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you have to be a baseball fan, and I know a lot of times I walk into situations and I beg for people to talk baseball too. I mean, Brandon knows this. Brandon and I are Thursday night buddies at the ballpark, and you know, we go out there, and I have to coax people into talking baseball sometimes. It's hard, but you know, I know all about these guys, and you know, I've been watching them all season. And of course, people know about Corey Seager. I mean, he's phenomenal and has done it before, and done it in World Series before, and in this ballpark before. But you know, it takes a lot of effort to be a baseball fan. And I joke with football fans all the time, and you know, I like football too, and I follow them. I'm going to catch the Cowboys and the Rams tomorrow, and then head back. But just, you know, it's a 16, 17 game season, right? Well, I watched 162 games, so it's about 10 times the effort, I think, to be a baseball fan and to know all these players. But you know, something about my old age, man, it just kind of grew on me, and I've gotten into the habit. And for, you know, the last decade, since the Rangers went to their first World Series, I've watched every game of every season.
We were fortunate enough last year in late October, or actually it was early October, to see the last game at Globe Life Field between the Yankees and Rangers, Tip and I. And that stadium to me is just amazing. It's one of the nicest ones in the majors, the newest one. What is it going to be like for you to not only attend your first World Series game, but the atmosphere going to be like at that place tonight?
You know, having been at the ALCS last week, I think I got a little bit of a taste of what it's like. You know, they really jacked it up for the postseason. They've got a section there in 133 where some kids got together and started getting some chants going. You know, they do the roll call like the Yankees do now at Globe Life. They chant players' names. Every time Seager comes to bat, they chant MVP. It's a section 133 in center field. And you know me, I buy the cheapest seat in the ballpark. I have standing room only tonight, right? but who's going to sit at a World Series game? Certainly not me.
Sure.
So I'll be probably hanging near section 133. You know, last week I got involved in game 3 of the Houston series. beating chance in section 133, and it was electric. I mean, it's a different feel in there for the postseason, but postseason baseball is just about as great a thing as there ever was. I mean, to me, it's so cutthroat. You know, you've got so much luck that plays out, so many little things. I believe it was Howard Cosell that said, other than a heavyweight championship fight, there's nothing better than postseason baseball.
Yeah, good point.
So I want to know what your baseball experience is. Are you one of those people that you just go, you enjoy the atmosphere? Do you have like the little transistor radio in your ear so you get to hear the play-by-play on a 7-second delay? Like how do you do a baseball experience at the stadium?
You know, for me at the ballpark, I'm always moving. I don't do the radio thing. It's a good idea because, you know, you get a little closer to it, but I wander. I have done this in many ballparks. I mean, I was in Queens last year to watch the wild card between the Padres and the Mets. Just made the trip and was able to see 3 games there. But buy the cheapest seat, wander around. There's so many great places to watch a ball game from. You make so many friends in the standing room only areas and talking to people. And then you get lucky sometimes. I mean, I was at Fenway this year on the 4th of July to watch the Rangers. And I was able to, after an hour and a half rain delay, sit in the front row right behind the dugout in Fenway and watch the last 3 innings of my team play. So you just never know where you're going to end up or what you can do. But I've toyed with ideas. I've talked to Brandon about this a little bit about, you know, baseball on a budget, you know, how to do it cheap and go and travel and see these games. I think I've mastered it to an extent. I will tell you one thing I'm upset with is that Arizona finally put standing room only on sale yesterday, and they were $399 for a standing room only ticket to a World Series game. I think that's a little ridiculous. I think, you know, at Globe Life, I paid $175. That I'll do, but for, you know, almost $400, obviously for a World Series, that's tough. But if it was a Game 7, I could see it. But I think in Arizona, they're kind of pricing some fans out of it. And that's a little difficult. Maybe something Major League Baseball needs to take note of.
Well, what I would say, I think part of the reason of that is you've got a perennial champion in the Arizona Diamondbacks saying, you know what, we have this championship experience where we won a world championship, 22 years ago. Yeah. So, you know, now we can overcharge people. I think that's what it is.
Plus, we have a pool. We have a pool.
The historic value of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yes, very historic franchise. You're right.
Well, by comparison, I paid for Game 7 in Arizona in 2001. Yankees and the Diamondbacks, was one of the best series of all times, right? I mean, certainly right after 9/11, there was so much emotion with that. I paid $110 face value for a ticket. That was a seat in right field. So, you know, it's 4 times that just to go in now and be able to stand up. So, I don't know, just it's upsetting because you follow a team all year. You want to be there. You know, Phoenix is an easier drive for me than Dallas. I mean,
sure.
A lot easier, but the ticket price I think is hurting a lot of people, and I don't know. That's something I'll probably make a note of it, and you know, something that needs to be mentioned to Major League Baseball, but it's hard. I mean, tickets yesterday for face value through the Diamondbacks, $750 for a seat to see games 3, 4, and 5. That's just. I mean, I'm not going to, you know, mortgage the house to see a World Series, but World Series tickets shouldn't cost as much as your entire season ticket does for a major league team, and that's what it is.
Maybe you could combine this with the TV station that you're working with, create a contest where you get to host somebody that loves baseball as a winner of a contest for your TV station.
Well, I'm not working for a TV station anymore. I'm no longer in the media. I am now a baseball a school teacher, basically. So my media days are over, other than being a guest on y'all's show, because I love you guys. My media days are largely over at this point.
So I wanted to ask this question. You said you've watched now. This is going to be game 176 of the season. I feel like the beard was completely black at game 1, and now you got a little bit of white in the thing due to all the stress of watching all the baseball games.
Mike, repeat that last part again. You said
okay, so I said that the beard was all black whenever the season started, and now because of baseball, it's white because all the stress of being in the playoffs now.
It's been white for a while, but if it wasn't, this team would have turned it that way. Think about this, man. This team won 8 in a row in August, and then they went and won a game, lost a game, won a game, lost a game, and then they lost 8 in a row in August. So at one point, I think they lost 16 out of 20 in August, and so win 8, lose 8 in the same month. If that's not schizophrenic, I don't know what is. But this team had that feel for a while. That's why you worry. If they drop one tonight, they could drop 3 more in Arizona, and it'd be over. So, this team has to stay hot. They've been able to snap out of it in the postseason. They did it after they lost Game 5 in a crushing way in the ALCS. I mean, leaving the ballpark that night was not a happy thing for people, but somehow they bounced back in Houston and get it done. Here they are. But definitely been schizophrenic all year, and lots of gray hairs, Mike. That's for sure.
Well, it's going to be a hell of a night. What's your prediction here? I mean, I know it's tough to ask you how many games it's going to go, but what's the predicament here?
This will be interesting today and I love these kind of games because 2 good starters going with Kelly for them, and then Montgomery for the Rangers. And the Montgomery's our number 1. Evaldi wasn't great last night, obviously, but Montgomery's on 5 days rest here, so he should be good to go. Hope that he goes 6 or 7, and then the Rangers bullpen can piece it together from there, because a lot of guys pitched last night, but I think more guys pitched for Arizona, and including their top guys. So I think they're a little bit more pressed to get more out of Kelly tonight. So both these teams will be looking for these starters to go a ways. There is a day off tomorrow, so that helps if they do go back to some of those relievers who pitched last night. But what an exciting setup for Game 2 after playing 12 innings last night. I mean, a lot of things go out the window as far as pitching goes, and so they'll be fishing to find arms and guys who can go out there and get it done. So I'm expecting a long night, and I'm expecting another close one. I think all the games in this series will be close, but boy, the Rangers better find a way to solve what Arizona does on the bases, and they do it well. And we knew that coming in, that they would be like that. Jonah Heim is a great defensive catcher, but they didn't catch up to anybody last night, allowing 4 stolen bases. So, anything can happen here, and I'm sure that Arizona will continue to be extremely aggressive.
Well, Darren, we wish you the best of luck. I don't know how to word this. If I want you to win in 4, or if I wanted to go to a Game 6 so you can go experience a Game 6. So I'm just going to wish you the best of luck to your Texas Rangers as they are taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series. What some would say the least exciting World Series, but I
mean, we've been talking about the Rangers all year.
I guess if there's not an East Coast team, a lot of people look at it that way. But, hey, it's baseball. And if they weren't entertained last night, if people in New York City or, in Boston weren't watching that game last night, they missed something, because that was good baseball. Sure. And that was exciting baseball. And baseball's baseball, no matter if it's played in Boston or New York or Arizona or Arlington. It is baseball. And it was a beautiful game last night, and very exciting. And I think people are missing out if they're not paying attention. But I think they'll jump on here real quick if we have another one like last night tonight.
Well, there we go, buddy. Like I said, I wish you best of luck. Maybe your team goes ahead and gets you your first championship as a baseball fan, which I'm always all about. Mm-hmm. Darren, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy that drive. Be safe, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
Guys, good to see you, Mike. We'll talk soon.
All right, that was Darren Hunt joining us here on Fire and Ice, making the drive, the long drive. I had to mention this to my friends, James Steele, Pat Costello, producers over at ESPN. I had to mention this to them because they said, how close would it be for you to be able to go to either Dallas or Phoenix for one of these games? And the answer to that question is it's not close at all. Phoenix, surprisingly, 3 hours closer than Dallas is to us.
That's insane.
And it's crazy that Darren's making that drive out there for that. But, but then I thought about it like this. last Friday I drove from here to San Antonio to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
And there was no championship on the line. So
No,
I guess
and
at least
you
I could
always drive. You drive all over the
Oh,
country.
dude,
I'm
I
very
love it.
impressed.
I
I'm
love
impressed, you know.
Well, that Mustang. You know, you got the Mustang, take the top
Mustang
down.
Sally. I'll tell you what, there's a song anyways. Never mind it.
I was like, is that a thing?
Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it some other time.
Okay,
Anyways, yeah, I mean, look, it's cool that he, you know, at least it's within the same state. I mean, granted, it's a long schlep, but I just think it's awesome. I mean, he's made this drive several times that he's on his way to Game 2 of the World Series, and we were able to actually get him en route, and he did a great job as usual.
And that to me is like the coolest thing about it, right? Whenever you can go support your team from afar, right? Because how hard would it be for me to go to a Yankees game if they won, like if they made it to the World Series, even if they were playing against Arizona again? Those tickets, just because it's the Yankees in Arizona, would be even more astronomically unaffordable.
Yes, agreed.
So for me, it's like, you know, I like seeing this stuff, especially I love the idea of a team winning their first championship, especially a team like Texas that has been there a few times.
Oh, yeah.
We got to remember those early 2010 Texas teams that were so damn good with Josh Hamilton, with Michael Young, that you were constantly in the talk
Two
of
World
winning.
Series in a row they lost. And Ron Washington, their manager, they had a great squad and had no business losing in, I think it was 2010 to St. Louis.
Yeah.
And they were up, and then they goofed in Game 6, and they were like 3 outs away. And, you know, that stings, man. I mean, if you're a Rangers fan, and look, I mean, Houston's done it a couple times now, and Texas should have been the first Texas team to win one, but now it's time to redeem themselves. And to me, this is the team of destiny this year. I really see them as the team of destiny.
If the Texas Rangers are able to pull out this win, and again, it's a big if because it's game one.
It's a tough
right?
series.
Yeah.
Arizona's good.
These teams are so evenly matched.
They are.
If the Rangers are able to pull out this win, then that would make the Houston Texans the only professional team in Texas to not win a championship.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. Wow.
I mean, and even going
point.
back to the Oilers, right? Like they never won the Super Bowl, so we got to think about that stuff, right?
That's true. It
would put all the pressure on the Texans to possibly perform.
They got a good quarterback this year.
I was going to say the Texans getting C.J. Stroud.
I like him.
Their wide receiver Nico Collins, like that dude is awesome.
Number 1 rookie QB this year, Stroud. He's playing great. He hasn't thrown an interception yet, right?
Rookie of the year,
for sure,
easily.
How much does Carolina wish they had picked him up?
At least he lines up under center.
Well, that's what I hear. Yeah, that's an interesting point you make, and I just feel like I look at a team like Texas, and I know this is going to be not an easy series. I mean, Arizona's got a lot. You know, they were down 2-0 to Philly, and to have come back and won Game 6 and 7 in Philly was unbelievable. That's a tough place to play. So this series, I think it's going 7. I'm going to say that Arizona evens up the series. And I know Darren doesn't want to hear that, but I'm thinking they even it up tonight.
For those of you that don't understand how sports work, this right now is a prime example of Major League Baseball genuflecting in the direction of the NFL because World Series games used to start on Saturday, Game 1 Saturday, Game 2 on Sunday. Yesterday it starts on a Friday. Saturday, Game 2, no football game or no baseball game on Sunday because they don't want to go up against football.
Makes sense.
But whenever you look at like what baseball is doing right now, 2 in Texas, you're going to have 3.
2-3? It's 2-3-2.
2-3-2. So you're going to have 3 in Phoenix on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
So consecutive days.
Yes.
Oh, on Halloween too. Cool.
Which I would love to see how the fans are there.
Yeah, they'll be dressed like Meshuggah and Schmucks. I can't wait to see.
Maybe all the extra money for the tickets that Darren was talking about is going to candy for the kids.
Yeah, that's good. They need it.
Positive spin, Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm here for you. Hire your boy. I actually reached out to him for a press credential. They never got back to me yet.
They forgot. They're still going to get back by next year in the World Series.
I probably shouldn't say that, but you know what? It is what it is.
You may not get approved now.
Definitely not approved. They're like, you were on the cusp for Game 5. Damn
you
it.
just called us jerks.
I stand by it. Anyway, so I'm looking at that. Then next week we have Friday, Saturday, if they're needed, Game 6 and 7. Brandon, we might not be able to recap the World Series, so let me know who wins.
I still have Texas. I got Texas in 6 right now. I mean, I think there's no way that Arizona gets swept. Like I said, I think they could even the series tonight. Texas is such a great road team. I could see them winning, a couple in Phoenix and then coming back and taking care of business in Game 6. But again, this is the type of series that it's going to be so competitive. Both teams have exceptionally good pitching. They're both well managed, and they've gotten here for a reason. They've had an uphill battle to get here, really, in the league championship series. But I still think that Texas is the better team, and I've picked them for a while now. I really love the way they're playing, and Texas in 6.
I had Texas in 7, so we're kind of basically on that as well. It's taking nothing away from the Diamondbacks.
No, they're great.
That is
they're
a
great.
good team.
That's a very good team.
The way they were able to come back and win, Dave, recover your ears. I'm sorry, 4 out of 5 from the Philadelphia Phillies show, and that Phillies team is fantastic. The Phillies fan base in the stadium was fantastic as well. Not the Eagles fans, just the Phillies fans were fantastic as well. So Arizona's not taking anything away from them. You got 2 teams that won 84 games, the lowest wins combined for a World Series representative. But whenever you're looking at like everything that Texas has, how could you not root for this team? The fact that they could win their first ever World Series. Then you hear the story of Adolis Garcia, who defected from Cuba, played in Japan, has a deal between the Japanese government and the Cuban government that 70% of his $2.3 million goes back to the Cuban government, so he doesn't even get paid for that.
Wow.
Comes back home, is going to fly home, decides at one point in Paris, I'm not flying back to Cuba, defects over and becomes a citizen in the Dominican Republic just to get here to the United States to play, is on the St. Louis Cardinals for 3 years and then gets DFA'd because nobody wanted him.
Crazy.
Goes to Texas where they also DFA him and nobody wants him either. And then now is the person who has the most RBIs in a single postseason in Major League Baseball history.
And he's a monster. You can't pitch to him because if you pitch to him every single time, he's capable of hitting a home run.
Look at what happened to him yesterday, where he gets hit on his left hand, his first hand through the batter's box. He gets hit right on that where all the power comes from. And then in the next at bat just pimps a home run to almost dead away center field. And it's just insane to watch this guy play baseball. The grand slam that he hit off of the Houston Astros that won them Game 5, that won the Texans Game 5, and just stares down everybody. You talk about, like, that's what I love. Like, I think baseball needs to embrace that. I know a lot of older baseball fans are going to hate like that aspect of it, but I love baseball, and I think that they need to embrace that. They need to embrace the Bryce Harpers that flex on people, because to hit a ball that damn hard, that damn far, that's about yay big is pretty goddamn impressive.
Oh man, I mean, not only that, but to taunt the fans like that, they talk about breaking their balls, man. That was absolutely vintage and classic. I mean, but the thing is that this guy is an absolute game changer. I mean, if they do win the World Series, there's a lot of little moving parts here. There's not just one person, but you could also look at an MVP like this guy and the type of performance he's having, which is a game-changing, series-changing performance. And I mean, you have to ask yourself, and you have to think about it, how often are they going to pitch to him going forward? And that's the only unfortunate thing of baseball, is that you can walk somebody every single time, which puts them at a disadvantage. But again, at least Texas has enough good hitting to be able to get him in if he's on base.
If I'm in charge of the Texas Rangers lineup, I'm telling Marcus Semien, you ain't swinging at shit, right? And everyone in front of Garcia, those 1, 2, and 3, everyone in front of Garcia, you don't swing unless it's in your sweet spot. You don't swing because you have to be on base for this guy.
Right.
If you allow him to go up with empty bases, it's an easy walk.
Sure.
He's gonna get the Barry Bonds treatment for a dude that's had one postseason, not even a full season, one postseason of an amazing career going on right now. But that's just the way that baseball is, right? Because there's no way, if you're Arizona, like you said, you're not pitching to this guy.
You can't. He's too much of a liability. I mean, the things that he does are just off the charts. I mean, like I said, he's having one of the most memorable postseasons in baseball history, and he is, every time he goes up, he's a threat. And that's you just have to look at it like that.
So I want to ask you this question, Brandon, because our friend Danny Hoban, shout out to Danny Hoban, shout out to Crave Kitchen Bar, was drafted to play Major League Baseball or to play baseball by the Texas Rangers. His favorite team are the Arizona Diamondbacks. What team, if you are Danny Hoban, are you cheering for? Because right now it just seems like a win-win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great question. I feel that do you have more loyalty towards the team that you were drafted by? I would say the team that drafted you and gave you a shot that no one else gave you. And you've seen Arizona win a championship before, so I'd say Texas is long overdue. That's a team that's they've had some struggled years recently, but to me they're a team that's long overdue to win a championship.
I look at this from the selfish Yankees fan that I am. 2009 for me, it feels like forever. You know what I mean? Like 13 years, 14 years, it really does feel like forever. But then I have to look at the perspective of, people like Darren Hunt who have never seen their team win. 62 years.
That's a long time.
That the Rangers have been in existence.
Yeah.
62 years. And this team is finally on the cusp of it. They're in the World Series for the third time in franchise history, the first time in just about as long as it's taken the Yankees to win a World Series. And you just got to feel for them. And then you got to think about it from the Arizona Diamondbacks fan. How badly does it suck that within your first 3 years of existence, you beat the Yankees of all teams to win your World Series, and you ain't been nowhere close since?
Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying. That makes sense. But I mean, the point is I think there's also a lot of teams that haven't been to a World Series and like you mentioned, haven't won one. So I mean, the fact that you won one so early in your existence is a tribute to the organization as a whole. And then there's teams like mine, the White Sox, that it took 88 years to win one. They haven't been done shit since. So that's damn near 20 years ago. Yeah, it'll be another 88 at least. I mean, so I mean, I embrace it and say, hey man, you get to see at least one in your life. I mean, there's only so few Yankees, Red Sox, and teams that just have won it, both the Dodgers, whatever. If you see one, hey man, even if you don't get back for another 40 years, at least you got to see one. But hey, look, that's the thing about baseball. The beauty about baseball is every single year, you could just barely limp in and then be that team to beat. And we've seen it so many times. We've seen it multiple times. The team wins 80-something games, gets hot in October, and boom, they tear. Like Atlanta a few years ago. Yeah. Remember when they beat Houston? Who in the hell would have thought the Braves were going to take it in Houston, right? That was great. That was for our late, great friend Serge. Obviously, the year, unfortunately, we lost him. But, long story short, that's what I love about baseball is that once October comes, it's a different ball game, literally.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to my friend Pat Costello, huge Philadelphia guy, grew up in Philly, from Philly, Eagles fan, Phillies fan. And then watching the way that team just self-destructed in those last 3 games.
They goofed the last 2 years, the World Series too.
And I'm trying to console him, right? And I'm like, look, dude,
okay,
there's always this and that
you
going
always
on.
got the Eagles. Oh, wait, they lost in the Super Bowl.
Wow, see, I didn't go that far. I should have. I didn't go that far.
I could have resisted.
But then he hit me with this trump card of you don't get to talk to me because your team's he was like, you won 98 championships.
Right.
And I had to think about that. I was like, okay, well, as a kid, I saw the Cowboys win 3.
Right,
I've seen the Spurs win 5. I've seen the Yankees win 5. And then my Golden Knights have won 1 as well.
That's cool.
I am a super spoiled fan.
You are.
I need to just shut the fuck up sometimes.
And you do. It's okay to brag. I mean, for me, I'll go, it's a bit farther. Obviously, Cowboys fan. I've seen them win 3. Bills, saw them win 6 in 8 years. Blackhawks, in the 2010s and all that, 3. White Sox 1, so I've seen all my teams win 1 and I'm happy. I mean, Chicago sports is rich in history, obviously. And, but yeah, I mean, it's rough, but Philadelphia, they got 1 too in 08, right? Didn't they win another one too?
Yeah. So I mean, they won the World Series.
How much are you going to bitch? I mean, you got 1. Didn't they win 2 though? Didn't they win another one?
No, they only won 1.
Just 1 in 08.
The one that the Yankees won in 09 was against them.
That's right. So, but you've been there. And it sucks to lose, but cry me a river, man. There's a lot of other teams that don't even get there, and they stink every year. When's the last time the Brewers have been in the World Series? And they've been good for how many years in a row? And they've been close, but they, you know what I mean, right? That's an example there.
I was this close to so I always try to find a team that I root for in the opposite league, right?
Yeah.
I was this close whenever CC Sabathia was with him right before he went to the Yankees because he was as unhittable as a pitcher could possibly be.
He was great.
But I'm the weird person with baseball, especially where I cannot have a second team.
Well,
in the NFL, I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan. I want to see him win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in the NBA, it's again, I'm still so one-sided towards the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey, as far as that goes, obviously, my allegiance is to the Vegas Golden
man,
Knights.
that's a cool franchise. I mean, they've been nothing but successful. But I mean, I've been to many Brewers games in Milwaukee. I've been to Milwaukee. It's a great town. If there's any other team I would be happy to see win one, it would be the Brewers. I mean, I'm just a White Sox fan, diehard. That's it, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot of good organizations that just haven't done squat. Think about the Cincinnati Reds. They haven't won one since 90, but at least they won one with Chris Sabo right back against the A's. Or the A's, they've been garbage for, they were great in the early 90s. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of good teams that were good a long time ago that stink today. You know what I mean?
You see, it's been 13 years for me as a Yankees fan, so I know what it's like as a White Sox fan waiting 86 years,
88.
as a Red Sox fan waiting 84 years, as a Cubs fan waiting 108 years.
Yeah.
These 13 years have felt the same.
Yeah, you poor thing. You gonna make it? You gonna make it to the 14th? Okay, buddy.
And this all begs the question: if it were possible, could the Bambino of yesteryear save today's Yankees, or has the game changed that much?
The Bambino would still be the Bambino, man. I mean,
okay, so you're with that.
Oh yeah, I am. I mean, people are doing all their PEDs and all that. The Bambino was the Bambino, man. I mean, he was the shiznittle bamboom before all them PEDs and all that.
See, because
they had other shticks back then, but not like today.
Daver, thank you for bringing this up, because this is one of my sore points with people. Right, we look at like what baseball players have today.
Yeah, a lot of good things.
Everything that they have today.
Everybody's doing something.
Imagine what Babe's, because
imagine
thing,
how much better he could have been.
The thing is the same, right? The bat hits the ball in the zone, and then you create the pop. Imagine if Babe Ruth had a weight room.
Yeah.
Because
Imagine if he wasn't smoking and drinking every day.
Yeah, if he wasn't taking batting practice with whiskey instead of Gatorade and a cigar
and a steak on the side, And I mean,
where people care about their. LeBron James spends $2.5 million a year to keep his body in shape.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth did negative that,
but he still is the greatest of all time, man. I mean, that he's like, what? You guys use drugs to hit home runs? He's like, what are you, crazy? He's all, shit, I hit those on my own.
Wakes up in his underwear, cracks his back,
right? Boof. He's all kazam. And, he's all, y'all. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying today, man. I mean, we love PEDs.
I wonder what the PED would have been back then in the 1920s, other than just straight
whiskey?
Alcohol. Yeah,
I was
because
gonna say
prohibition, right?
He's like, you got scotch? He's like, I'll take that instead, man. That works for me.
Scotch and a cigar. Let's see how this goes.
This works as my PED. I'm happy, man. I'm half tanked, but I'm good to go.
See, and I love this too, because I love watching. I'm diehard Yankees fan, right? Like I've always had the thing with me and Babe Ruth. We're both left-handed.
Yep.
He was an orphan. I'm adopted. Like there's that thing going
on,
right?
A lot of parallels.
So yeah, and we both have tiny itty bitty little legs.
Little hand. I thought you were going to say hands, but you don't have. You have sausage fingers. But anyways,
if you look at Babe Ruth's legs,
tiny,
like in those things, they're just these little itty bitty sticks.
Tiny little sticks,
Because he never had a freaking weight room.
Yeah. Well, he didn't need one.
This was back in the day where they were like turning the bowling ball pins.
He didn't need one. He didn't need one. I mean, he was the man, the myth, the legend, right? That's great. Great argument. I mean, I don't know if it's such an argument, but yeah, I mean,
because I feel the same way, right? Like if you pick up Barry Bonds, even before PEDs, you pick up Barry Bonds, put him in the 1920s, he's getting a lot of racial attention, but he's hitting bombs.
Yeah, I mean, I love when people try and compare eras. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, here's the bottom line, okay? If someone was great 50 years ago, I feel they would have still been great nowadays. I mean, greatness is greatness. No matter what era, they would have, if nothing else, been greater because of all the extras, like you noted, that they would have had access to. But they're still going to be great, man.
Except for Phil Niekro, who just threw a knuckleball the entire time, because I feel like a knuckleball pitcher can't exist anymore.
Yeah,
Tim Wakefield, R.I.P. the last of those.
That wouldn't cut the mustard nowadays,
Well, actually, no. I guess R.A. Dickey was the last knuckleball pitcher.
But
his knuckleball was 85 miles an hour. Yeah, that's not a knuckleball, man.
Yeah, no, Tim Wakefield's knuckleball was wicked smart.
That thing that moved 40 miles an hour and just no rotation at all.
Whoa, what is that? Is that a baseball?
I love,
Holy crap.
I'm such a nerd with baseball, right? Because I love baseball. That I'll see the videos on TikTok of Tim Wakefield dropping that knuckleball, and I'll see it a million times. And just watching that knuckleball dance but never rotate at all is just something amazing to me, man. I wish I could have been able to throw one of those, but no, just never.
Yeah,
I did throw a knuckle curveball.
It'd be cool, right?
Explains why this knuckle right here, because of the way I had to grip the ball.
You have
this knuckle right here.
Knuckles.
Anytime I get my hand in the fist, I have to force this finger back up.
And you're a knucklehead, so
so it works. Everything works.
You're my buddy,
Brandon. I was not expecting to go this heavy and this deep into baseball. I haven't spoken about the NBA being back.
No,
I haven't spoken about what you expect from the Dallas Cowboys coming back from the bye week.
Talked to Babe Loffenberg, still working on him.
Okay,
He's a good man.
He's a great man with a what did you say, with a knife and a fork?
He's busy. He's busy right now. He said, "Mate, we're working on him for soon."
Well, I mean, he's got an NFL season going on.
Well, plus he was at Game 1 of the World Series last night, so he's been a busy guy.
I don't blame him.
But anyways, we talked, and we're still working on Babe. Cowboys looking, we'll see what happens.
So real quick with our Dallas Cowboys, we have seen this team become one of the most bipolar teams in NFL history because that's what the last 28 years have given us, right? This team is perpetually 500. We've seen them have some amazing games offensively against some pretty damn good defenses. And then just shit the bed the rest of the time.
No doubt. Yep.
What is wrong with this team?
Well, part of it has to do with coaching because I really don't like some of the calls that McCarthy makes. I've often called him a bad gambler. If you're going to gamble, at least make it efficient. And then part of it is Dak. But Dak hasn't been as bad as he's been in recent years. Thank God he hasn't thrown as many picks. And part of it's the defense because as great as a defense is, they've shit the bed sometimes against teams. They've been underwhelming against mediocre opponents. And if you want to win and you want to be good, you can't do that because you will get screwed. Are they as good as Philly? Hell no. Philly is, to me, the number one team in the NFC. But in a couple weeks, we'll see. It's all about matchups. I think Philadelphia and Dallas match up really well against each other. Honestly, there is no one concrete, solid great team in the NFC. Philly's good, but they're definitely chinks in the armor. San Francisco has shown their vulnerabilities. The Cowboys have shown their vulnerabilities. Anybody can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So you just have to completely be consistent every game. You can't sit there and say, oh, we're going to take Sunday off against the Rams, but we're going to play up to par against San Diego. San Diego.
Superchargers.
Who isn't even that good, though.
One thing with the Cowboys is they have to conquer the red zone.
Yeah, they do.
Oh
That's been
God.
a big screw up. They can't score in the damn red zone. You're right. That's not, field goals are great, but 3 suck in the end.
That's getting her in bed, but not knowing what to do.
How do I get stooped? Hey, do what with my where? What? What is this? Oh,
Getting her to bed and then falling asleep. The Dallas Cowboys, that's you. The whiskey dick Dallas Cowboys.
Did you fall asleep yet again? Wait a minute. You didn't stoop? What the hell?
I can't believe you no-sold that.
I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. You stopped. You got me going here. Sorry. More Yiddish.
I'm with it, right? Like the Cowboys have to prove something. I'm interested to see what happens with San Francisco because it felt like that first loss that Brock Purdy had in the regular season against Cleveland.
Yeah.
You saw a little bit of the luster come off.
Yep.
Then he has the back-to-back losses against, I can't remember
San
who they lost
Francisco
against
and
this past week.
Cleveland they lost to, and then they lost at Minnesota.
At Minnesota. There we go. On Monday Night Football. Against Kirk Cousins, who never wins on Monday Night Football.
Addison was amazing.
Yeah.
Addison was now. Go ahead. You're going to make a point.
So the San Francisco 49ers, now this week, Brock Purdy in concussion protocol, more than likely going to be Sam Darnold.
This could be a third straight loss.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. You look at a team like San Francisco that whenever you look at them on paper
right now,
they're cratering at this moment.
And let me just point out the trade deadline's coming. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think they do need a little bit of help in the ground game. They miss Elliott. Derrick Henry's available and Zach Moss is available. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm going after a Zach Moss who has, a purpose that's dwindling away in Indy. Moss is a number 2 running back this year in terms of rushing yards. You need somebody like that.
If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I call up New England and I say let's bring him back.
And they've talked about bringing back Zeke because Pollard's struggling at the goal line. That's the thing.
It's because they as much as I like Rocco Dowdle, which is just such a great name, or Rico Dowdle, which is just such a great name, and as much as I love Deuce Vaughn, you don't have that heavy hitting guy with Zeke Elliott's abilities.
And the workload is too much for Pollard. Yeah. I'm going to say that right now. They need a number 2 or a number 1, vice versa. Go after Derrick Henry. Go after Zach Moss. Go after Zeke. They need to make a move by Tuesday, and I think they're going to. I think you're going to see an addition to that running game. So I'd like Zach Moss to go because he's my fantasy receiver. A running back, rather. We'll see what happens.
Also, I need to publicly take an L right now, Brandon. I have been doing my Tip 6 picks on every Sunday right before the beginning of the season. Going into this past week, 31-15 on the season. Doing pretty goddamn good, right? This week, 1-5.
Ooh.
You talk about coming back down to earth and just cratering, man.
Hey, you can't always trust the tip.
I mean, come on.
But I would account that to just being sports. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. That's
but
why we love sports.
But I will say this, a little insider information, Tyreek Hill not going to play. Jalen Waddle with a little bit of a back issue.
You don't think Hill's not going to play?
He's not going to play.
They already said it or what?
It's more than likely.
Seriously?
Still at a game time decision. So if you're putting money down, what I would suggest is taking the New England Patriots, who are a 9.5-point dog, to cover that spread. Because if you don't have Hill and you got to hurt Jalen Waddle, it's more than likely there's going to be some issues there.
Damn, I better make a move. I'm glad you
It's
told me.
going to be a game time decision.
Oh, that doesn't help me.
Not
What
at
time does
all.
he play?
I believe it's an 11 o'clock game, too.
Ah, shit. Then I got to change my fantasy line.
Oh, look at this. Brandon the Iceman Cone.
For Christ's
Caring more
sakes.
about fantasy football than everything else.
Sorry. It's my team, and I got to win this week.
I could never get this guy to actually care about his team in my league, but now this guy's all over caring about his teams. Sad.
Man. Like, should I put Derrick Henry in?
David, he doesn't love me.
He's playing Atlanta.
Well, fantasy football is like how an engineer breadboards a circuit. They have to run a simulation, and that's what fantasy football is. Based on his simulation, that's what makes his predictions.
I think I'm going to put Pearson. He's playing at Carolina, and Carolina's garbage.
Much like the whiskey dick Dallas Cowboys, Brandon Cone doesn't come through at the end. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the show. We will see you all next week. Want to give a shout out to our friends over here at Union Drafthouse 730 Sunland Park Drive for hooking us up. They've got some great events going on. Come on out here, support the Alzheimer's Association through the rest of October and the remainder of November as well. And we will see you all next week.
Gosh darn it. You ruined my day.